Growing up in a poor village in Laos, life wasn't easy for me. My mom, often overwhelmed by the hardships, would get really mad and yell at me for the smallest things. Every time she scolded me, I'd end up getting sick, but my mom didn't believe me. She thought I was just pretending to avoid going to the farm with her. My dad, who is always a protector, is trying to calm my mom down every time she tries to hit me. My mom will always yell at my dad, saying that if you don't want to marry your own daughter, then get out of the way. It makes my dad really sad, and he just turns to walk away because my mom came from a rich family and my dad was just a poor farmer. When I turned 7, I started going to school. The teacher was strict, and one day I witnessed something terrifying. A girl in my class didn't cut her hair as the teacher instructed. In a fit of rage, the teacher grabbed her hair and cut it in front of everyone. I was scared and told my parents, but they brushed it off. Nightmares haunted me, making me scared to go to school. Eventually, I stopped going altogether. A month passed without me attending school, and my mom found out. Her anger erupted, leading to a severe beating that left bruises all over my small body. It has become a normal thing for my mom to hit me almost every day for every little reason. My poor dad will get on his knees and wrap me around his arms while my mom is still beating me to the ground. My dad, furious at my mom, threatened to leave her. Despite their efforts, I remained sick, and no doctor could figure out what was wrong. My mom's beatings continued until my dad had enough and finally divorced her due to her abusive behavior. The divorce took a toll on my mom, pushing her into depression and eventually suicide. During the funeral, my mom's side of the family will yell at my dad, saying that my dad will be poor and I will suffer and be poor like my dad for life. I see tears dripping down my dad's eyes, and I blame me for all the trouble I caused because my dad was trying to protect me. Weeks later, after burying my mom, that's when things took a turn for the eerie. My mom came back as a ghost, a ghastly and rotten figure haunting my dad relentlessly. Every night she would appear, a terrifying presence that filled our home with fear. One night when my dad went to sleep over at the farm, my cousin came to sleep over, and in the middle of the night, someone hit me with a stick really hard. I woke up and no one was around. But when I look closely in the dark corner, I can see my mother, a ghostly figure holding onto a stick. I couldn't believe my eyes, covered myself with a blanket and huddled my cousin to sleep. The villagers, too, witnessed her spectral form wandering around, especially those returning late from the farm. Desperate for a solution, my grandpa sought help from a shaman. Together, they performed rituals to change my dad's name, hoping it would break the ghostly connection. Yet despite their efforts, my mom's ghostly visits persisted, tormenting my dad each night. Unable to escape the haunting, we made a difficult decision to move away from that village. The fear of my dead mom's ghost was too much for us to bear. As we left, the villagers would talk about seeing her wraith-like figure still wandering around at night. It was a relief to leave that haunted place behind, hoping for a fresh start in a new village. Life took a turn for the better as we settled into a new community, far from the ghostly memories of our past. The nightmares gradually faded, and the wounds, both physical and emotional, began to heal. Although the scars of my childhood remained, the move offered a chance at a new beginning, free from the haunting presence of my dead mother's ghost. My lovely father, a brave soul, he walked away from my mom, braving the tempest of emotions, for the hurtful things she did had wounded him deeply. My dad, a beacon of strength and kindness, stood by me, an unwavering presence in my journey. Through the labyrinth of life, he guided me with a tender hand, imparting lessons of compassion and fortitude. Yet his own heart carried scars, remnants of a love shattered by the painful shards of betrayal. In the quiet hours of solitude, he revealed why he chose the solitary path, avoiding the tangled web of matrimony. The specter of my mother's actions haunted his trust, leaving him wary of weaving another chapter of love. He chose not to marry again, explaining that my mom's actions made him wary of having a wife. To my wonderful dad, I wish you peaceful rest and a life filled with joy. You deserve all the happiness in the world. In another life, I hope to be your daughter once more. My name is Hmong, and what I'm about to share with you is the scariest story of my life. It all began with love. A love so deep that I willingly gave one of my kidneys to my girlfriend when both of hers were failing. Little did I know, the nightmare was just beginning. I loved her more than anything, and I thought I was doing the right thing by donating my kidney to save her life. But life has another way of turning things around. She betrayed me, cheated on me with another man, and left me shattered. The man she chose treated her badly, and when she wanted to come back to me, I couldn't bear the pain, so I rejected her. My parents, who had supported me in giving her my kidney, now despised her. One fateful day, I learned that she had taken her own life, hanging herself in the basement of her home. The shock and guilt overwhelmed me. She wrote a letter saying that she would come back to get me. When I heard the news, I was sad but not scared of anything. But the horror didn't end there. In a dream one night, she appeared to me asking for my other kidney. The fear I felt was indescribable. I shared a room with my older brother, who often came home late, knocking on my bedroom window for me to open. One night I heard a knock and thought it was my brother coming home late. As I opened the curtain, to my horror, I was confronted with the chilling sight of my dead girlfriend's face, looking right in my eyes, a dark blue hue, as if she had been dead for a long time. Her haunting smile sent shivers down my spine. Terrified, I ran to my blanket and urgently called my brother to come home. The next day, I fell seriously ill. Despite my numerous visits to the doctor, they couldn't find anything wrong with me. Even as I write this, the illness persists. Some nights I have dreams of her waiting outside my door, waiting for me to go with her. I'm reaching out for help as I share this story. I'm haunted by the memories of my dead girlfriend, and I can't shake off the feeling that she's still watching me. The nightmares continue, and I live in constant fear. Even if the doctors can't find anything wrong with me, I know something is terribly wrong. Please, if anyone can help me make sense of this horror, I'm desperate. I fear that one day she might come back for more than just a kidney. As I write these words, I can't help but glance over my shoulder, haunted by the ghost of my past. I used to love hunting, in a tricky way. I'd be out there persistently, tracking my prey with excitement in the deep woods. But everything changed in 2011, and I stopped because of something strange that happened one eerie night while I was out hunting endlessly. It was so dark in those deep woods that night, like the kind of darkness that makes it hard to see your own hand in front of your face. I was up in my deer stand, and through the thick trees, I noticed a weird light. At first I thought it might be another hunter, or maybe just some strange glow from the moon. My excitement grew, thinking it could be a good sign for a successful hunt. As the light got closer, the deer in the area started acting strange. They were smartly moving away, sensing something I couldn't quite put my finger on. The light turned out to be blindingly bright, and despite the urge to run, my curiosity and a hint of intelligence told me to stay hidden. The woods suddenly felt haunted, like I was being hunted instead of doing the hunting. I peered through the branches and saw a strange thing below my deer stand. It had dark blue eyes that seemed to be staring right up at me. It was a creature, something I couldn't quite make sense of. It stands like a human with a muscular body, but has a face similar to that of a dog, like a German shepherd. Determined not to be the prey, I readied my rifle and fired at the creepy creature. But to my shock, it didn't move. It stayed perfectly still, as if my bullet didn't even faze it. Fear surged through me, and I knew I had to get out of there. I jumped off my deer stand from the other side and ran and stumbled over roots and branches, but I didn't stop until I reached my car. That night changed everything for me. I never went hunting again. Ever since then, the memory of that strange incident has haunted me. The woods that used to be my playground now feel like a forbidden zone. The thrill of the hunt was replaced by the fear of being hunted. I couldn't shake off the feeling that whatever I encountered that night was still out there, lurking in the darkness. Now the hunting gear that once brought me joy gathers dust in the corner of my garage. The woods that were once familiar and comforting now seem alien and menacing. I've become a spectator in my own story, haunted by the memory of those dark woods and the strange creature with its blue eyes. So, if you ever find yourself deep in the woods on a dark night, and you see a strange light approaching, be careful. It might not just be the thrill of the hunt. It could be something far more mysterious and sinister, something that turns the hunter into the hunted. And once that switch is flipped, there's no going back. It was a gloomy Friday, and the memory still haunts me. I was 17 and my little sister, who's 15, and I had this never-ending chore, mopping the kitchen floor. Our parents had gone grocery shopping, leaving us with a daunting task. Now, let me tell you, cleaning can be frustrating, and an argument between my sister and me was just waiting to happen. Back when Grandma was alive, she'd never wanted for us to argue. But there we were, about 30 minutes after our parents left, caught up in a heated disagreement over who knows what. I was in the middle of yelling at my sister when she pointed out that our little brother had broken the living room curtain. I was annoyed, having to change the dirty mop water and all. We argued until we gave up and she tried to fix the curtain. The broken window faced the porch, giving her a view outside. Suddenly, she bolted towards me, and I dropped the mop water in surprise. I asked her what was going on, and she urgently told me to come to the living room. I didn't want to leave the mess behind, but she insisted, claiming she saw our dead grandma sitting by the porch door, giving a sad smile and turning her head to look at her. She was wearing the same clothes she had on when they put her in the coffin. I thought my sister was making it up, but she seemed dead serious. I freaked out and called our parents to come home quickly. They bombarded us with questions, but eventually brushed them off as our imaginations ran wild. I tried calming my sister, suggesting she might have imagined it, but she was convinced. She described Grandma's appearance in detail. The flower-patterned dress, the silver locket, and that comforting smile. It sent shivers down my spine because those were personal things only we knew about. As we waited for our parents, an eerie feeling settled in. The house felt colder, and I couldn't shake off the sense that something was off. My sister kept glancing nervously at the living room window, half expecting Grandma to show up again. When our tired parents returned, they were dismissive and tired from their shopping trip. They assured us it was just our imagination playing tricks. Despite our plea for them to take it seriously, they told us to finish our chores and not to worry. We went back to the kitchen reluctantly, but the atmosphere had changed. The air felt heavier, and an uneasy silence filled the house. As we mopped the floor, I couldn't shake off the feeling that someone or something was watching us. The days passed, and one evening I overheard my parents talking about how my dad also saw Grandma on the porch late at night, coming home from work. He'd act like he didn't see anything and just walk straight in. The mystery lingered, and our house was never the same again. I live in Merced, California, and this happened in 2009. A while back, we moved into my husband's new place. The house seemed normal at first, but things took a spooky turn one night. Our bedroom was upstairs, and that's where things got seriously creepy. One night, as I lay in bed with my eyes closed but still awake, something weird happened. I suddenly couldn't move. Panic hit me hard. It was my first time experiencing sleep paralysis. I tried to calm down, telling myself it was just sleep paralysis, nothing to be scared of. But after a few minutes, panic struck again. Desperate to break free, I realized I could move my foot. It was right next to my husband's foot. With my long toenails, I tried to scratch his foot to wake him up, but there was no reaction. Frustrated, I kept repeating to myself that it was just sleep paralysis and not to open my eyes in case something eerie was happening. As time passed with no improvement, panic returned. Trying to scream, I realized no sounds were coming out, just grunts and heavy breathing. Fear took over, and after struggling for a bit, I heard what seemed like a drum playing at a funeral and people crying in my ears. Suddenly, something pulled my legs really hard, and I fell off the bed. Startled, I opened my eyes to find my husband already awake. He laughed at me and asked why I fell off the bed. I still wonder if it was just sleep paralysis or something paranormal. The uncertainty sticks around, making that eerie night in our house hard to forget. Was it just my imagination playing tricks on me, or was there something more to it? The next morning, I couldn't shake off the strange feeling. I decided to do research on sleep paralysis, hoping to find a logical explanation for what happened. The more I read, the more it seemed like a common thing. People experiencing temporary paralysis during sleep. But the drumming and people crying, that part didn't make sense. Days passed, and everything seemed normal again, until another night. I was in bed trying to get some sleep when I heard faint whispers. At first, I thought it was just the wind or the house settling, but the whispers grew louder and I couldn't make out any words. It felt like a hushed conversation was happening right there in the room. I nudged my husband, but he slept like a log. Suddenly, the room got icy cold and I could see my breath. I pulled the blanket tighter around me, feeling a chill down my spine. The whispers turned into eerie laughter and I felt a light touch on my shoulder. I froze, too scared to move. The laughter grew louder, echoing through the room. I mustered the courage to open my eyes, and there, at the foot of the bed, I saw a shadowy figure. It had a distorted face and seemed to be watching me. Fear gripped me and I couldn't look away. I tried to wake up my husband again, but he remained in a deep sleep. The figure slowly moved towards me, its laughter now a sinister chuckle. I closed my eyes, hoping it was just a nightmare, but the cold touch on my shoulder persisted. When I finally mustered the courage to open my eyes again, the figure was gone. The room returned to its normal temperature, and the whispers faded away. I woke my husband up, shaken and scared, but he insisted it was just a bad dream. I wanted to believe him, but the lingering fear and the unexplained events made it difficult. Was it all in my head, or was there something truly paranormal in that house? I couldn't shake off the feeling that we weren't alone and that something unseen lingered in the shadows. We continued living in that house, but each night brought a new sense of unease. The whispers, the chilling laughter, and the mysterious figure became a regular occurrence. I tried to ignore it, convincing myself that it was just my imagination. Yet the uncertainty persisted, casting a shadow over our supposedly peaceful home. One day we decided to move out, unable to bear the constant feeling of being watched and the strange occurrences that plagued our nights. As we left the house behind, I couldn't help but glance back, wondering if the shadows and whispers would stay behind or follow us. Even now, in our new home, I sometimes wake up in the middle of the night, unsure if the sounds I hear are just the wind or something more sinister. The memory of that spooky night in my husband's house lingers, a haunting reminder that some mysteries are better left unsolved.